Welcome everyone to Astellia Online. Astellia Online is a classic take on an MMORPG that brings back the Holy Trinity, tank, healer, and DPS, with an addition of a pet system called Astells. In this video, I'll be providing a list of things that will help you get started in Astellia. Let's begin. First thing I want to bring to your attention is the third quick slot. The additional quick slot will help you get started in the game, being able to obtain health pots, mounts, whatever else you want to put into that third slot. You can do that by doing this. The first thing is pressing escape or going to the bottom right hand corner, going to settings, accessibility, and checking off the third quick slot checkbox. Once you do that, click apply. It will then go ahead and append this third quick slot action bar that you can use to attach different things such as buffs, HP pots, and other actions that you would want to use. This will be very helpful for the additional future once you get more skills. Next on the list are Astells. Astells are one of the main core features of Astellia. It's what makes Astellia Astellia. The Astells are pets that you control, each providing its own unique benefit. Astells are broken into different classes such as Knight, Warrior, Archer, Assassin, Mage, and Scholar, and Muse. Depending on what class you're playing, you will determine what Astells you may or may not want to use. Astells are equipped to your F1 and to F8 keys. This right now is not changeable. You have to use F1 to F8. This makes up what you call a deck. A deck is made up of 1 to 8 Astells that can provide additional bonus for deck effects, and we'll get into that in just a minute. Once you equipped an Astell, you can then press the key that it's assigned to, which will summon the Astell. So if I right click and bring this one up, or just press F1 to summon the Astell, the Astell is now summoned, and as you can see on my top left hand corner, the AP actually decreased for the summon. So each Astell has their own summoning cost on top of a summoning duration AP, and how long they will stay summoned for as long as you can recover that amount of AP. You can see this by pressing P and going to character profile. Inside your character profile, you can see how much AP recovery you're getting per second. As right now, I'm doing 30. What that means is I can have up to 1 Astell out without my AP going down. The next thing is I can summon a second one, which would then start consuming 40 while I recover 30 every couple seconds, meaning I'm losing 10 faster than I can recover. So for me to sustain 2 Astells, you're going to obtain potions throughout the game through achievements and through other things as missions and quest lines. This tunic will actually help you sustain 2 Astells at any given point. I recommend always having at least one tunic on when you're doing a dungeon, especially party dungeons, as well as legendary dungeons. It just makes life easier to have 2 Astells out versus only having 1 while your AP drains at the top. So having 2 Astells out, use the tonic, it will make life a lot simpler. Now, the Astell that you summon each of them will have unique spells. By using these spells, you can use these spells by pressing the key that is assigned to them. So in this case, if I press F1 or F2, it will use those skills that Astells have on these characters. So in this case, if I use this one, it's going to bind the target, and this one's going to create a magic magnetic field around targets that I have selected. So this is one of the upsides to having the Astells on and using their skills is very beneficial for you and your party. So you want to make sure you're using both the skills that you're seeing here. Don't just have the Astell out and have them just basic attacking and losing out on a lot of effects. And you want to make sure you'll be able to use your effects as you progress. So I press F1 here, you see my Astell actually start casting and attacking. Now, you may be wondering how I can control the Astells without having to have them auto attack. I can just target what I want, right click, and then they'll follow me. Now, sometimes you're going to come into this situation where the Astells will not be assisting you. That is because they're in a waiting mode. So by pressing H, it disables them. So I will not be able to use any skills that they have. They will not do anything. So right now they're in that waiting mode. If I turn this off, press H again, they'll attack. Just like normal, it's because they're in that waiting mode. You want to make sure that H is not on when you're trying to play in a party or just XP in general. So always pay attention to this little bar down here. R is just a way to tell the Astells to attack something together. You can actually break up your Astells to make them attack different targets, but the R shortcut will make them all attack the same target every single time. Now we're going into the modes that Astells have. Astells have multiple modes. They have a passive mode, active mode, and aggressive mode. Each of them giving different things and different ways of helping you fight. In this situation, the Astells will go out and actually start attacking any enemies that are in range. So there it goes. So once they get in range for me, they'll actually start attacking stuff just automatically. Don't have to worry about anything. This gives us the benefit of being able to just have the Astells defend you if you needed an AFK or if you wanted them just to attack everything and anything that's in your vicinity. Now, right now, I have my short range mode on, meaning that they'll stay next to my character. If I change this to long range mode, my range will automatically attack stuff that's in a good distance around me that I can actually obtain items. So this way, they actually go out and start searching for it, and that's the aggressive mode. Aggressive mode will automatically go and search for stuff that's in range and fight for me. I don't have to do much. In this case, I'm in a low-level area. My Astells are a lot higher level than these mobs, so they're all, of course, one-shotting it. This won't be the case every single time, and I can see there is some details that they don't know. Some of the pathing is still a little bit incorrect. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this back on to short-range mode and take this back to passive mode. Passive mode is going to only attack stuff that I'm attacking or targeting. So if I select Kidnapper and I press 1, they're going to see them attack. If I switch this to active mode, they'll fight on its own, meaning that they won't actually pay attention. So if there's more mobs, they kind of just go at everything. So if I move over here, again, these mobs are low level, so they don't get aggro. But in this case, the Estelle will fight on its own, meaning that it doesn't need each other to fight on something. So if I tell it to go attack this, they'll actually fight by themselves. So it's one of the upsides to having the active mode. I prefer having the passive mode that will help determine where and when I'm attacking something, and then I can use R to make sure that all my Astells are attacking the same monster. So now let's dive into a little bit more into the Astells and what they provide. The first thing I wanted to show is that the Astells have a thing called condition skills and deck effects. We're going to start with the condition skills. A condition skill will give you the ability to activate a skill without actually having to press it. So condition skill for sickness will be evasive arrow. So if I target this and I do evasive arrow, you see that she pops up on the right hand side and says benediction, which is going to tell me what she's going to do what she's doing for me and how she's going to help me. In this case, it's going to cast a healing spell. Instantly heals the HP of a selected party member with a graceful gesture of a swan. In this case, if I don't have a party member selected, it's going to heal myself. If I wanted to use Canceria on this, I can use Raven Shot or Maelstrom. So if I use Maelstrom on this mob, Blinding Light. You hear her shouted as well. So there is a part of it, so it tells you they're able to use their different skills and help you reduce stuff. So you combine your skills with the Estelle skills to produce a higher DPS output. So this, and again, you can read what the skills do. As you level up as you get to your Estelle's higher stars, they'll actually gain skill effects. Each star will get them essentially a new skill. Now going into the deck effects. Each Estelle have 3 deck effect that they can use, and they're assigned some type of points, 3, 2, and 1. And as of right now, I have not seen an Estelle that has 3s like all across the board. It's always 3, 2, 1, and they always have a 3, they always have a 2, and they always have a 1 pointer. Some Estelles, in this case, some skills for the Estelles and the deck effects you can't actually obtain with just the Estelles. So if we look at Stamp here, if I look at this one, this is 3 points. If I look at this one, this is 2 points. Just mousing over it, I can add the points up for my total deck points. Now, to get this effect, I would actually need 9 points. So what that means is, as of right now, there is not enough Astells with this skill that I have obtained to be able to get to over 9 points, or 15, or even 24 to get different level effects. So in order to do that, I need a thing called Treasure. Treasure can drop or be obtained through Avalon, through Black Crystals, sorry, not Black Crystals, the Ancient currency, the ancient fragments, we'll get into those here in just a minute, or you just farming dungeons and getting them as a drop from legendary dungeons to all the way for the first dungeon that you do from a solo quest, from a solo aspect. But the treasures can give you random bonuses towards your deck effect to help you produce a bigger and better deck effect. Now, one of the things you can notice is when you have once you have a deck effect, you can actually see the bonuses that you're using. So I'm going to press up here and show you a deck effect for mana regen. So right now I'm missing one here. I'm going to pull this guy in. And how I know this is by going into him, I can click on deck effect, I can see mana regen. I mouse over the Astells to see which ones they have. So mana regen's 2, 5, 6, and 9. So that gives me a level 1 mana regen bonus. And all I needed to do is equip them into my deck slot at the bottom here. Once I've done that, we can see at the top right hand corner, I have a level 1 mana recovery buff. And if I go into my mana recovery, I can see my mana recovery guy is now 26 versus the 22 that it was. So if I right click him, take him off, he is now my mana recovery is now 22 versus the 26 that it was. Again, you can see this by just reading the deck points and seeing how many deck points you have available and what you're missing to be able to attain this. Not everything's obtainable through Astells as of right this second. Once you're able to level them up and get treasures, there might be other things in the game that we have not obtained through the closed beta as of right now. So this will help a lot in depending on what you're trying to accomplish with the deck effects and trying to get a bigger and better system. Hopefully they'll add ways to actually obtain some of these different set deck effects. As of right now, we couldn't even test them. The only one that we can actually use is the AP increase, which is not currently working, or the mana MP decrease without the treasures. I have not found a way to get more points without the treasures. But once you have the treasures, you're actually able to obtain and increase your deck effects to get better and bigger points. And there's a whole bunch of deck effects, so make sure you go through them and figure out which ones you want to obtain and aim for getting those. Now, you might be wondering what your Astellian details are and how much HP, what their damage is. By going into the details section, you can actually see what stats they obtain and how much they actually have here. So it's a lot of options for the Astells and figuring out which ones you want. You can read the Astells between if it's a servant, which means lower AP costs. It's a knight, it's a tank. It's doing physical damage, not AP damage or magic damage. And then if their monsters are weakness or cold-hearted, I'm not really sure how to determine that yet. I don't see anything there, but it's there. Your Astell will always be the same level as you or below your level. So if you gain a new Astell, it'll be level 1, even though if you're level 25 or 20 or 30. But that being said, you can level sync. As of right now, sadly, it is using in-game currency called gems, which you buy with real-life cash. So this will allow you to sync your Astells instantly to the same level you are. I don't recommend to doing the sync unless you're level 50 and you got a new Astell because you didn't acquire it until then. Then you can, of course, level sync, but it's really not that hard to level up your Astell. And it's also not that expensive for real-life cash to actually sync it. I do hope they remove this and add it into in-game currency instead of gems, giving us an option to spend the gold we farm or spend in-game loyalty, something else than using real-life cash to level sync. And again, this is probably just a bug or just an old feature that they left over for the closed beta testing. Now, going into here, this is the Astells system. Hopefully this helped you understand the Astells a little bit better. Just to recap, you have your bottom left-hand side here is your control for your Astells. Astells have three modes: passive, aggressive, and active. You can summon a Astell by pressing F1, and then F1 to actually use the skill to pull. So Rota in this case will actually taunt and tank for me. And you can desummon them by holding Shift F1 or just pressing this little X button here to desummon them. The next thing I want on our list is the skill queuing system. The skill queuing system allows you to stack multiple skills into a single quick slot. We can then use the arrow key. We can use this to combo skills better and faster. What that means is, let's start with looking at our actual skills. If I look at my first skill here, it says shoots target, slows them down, and inflicts a thing called Expose Weakness. Now, Expose Weakness is actually a debuff. It's not highlighted here correctly, but that means, okay, I need to find something that's going to do extra damage with Expose Weakness. Spyro does not. Rapid Shot. Okay, Rapid Shot does additional damage affected by exposed weakness. So I can click this little up arrow here, which will give me a new page that I can actually use. I'm going to head and grab my first skill. And now once I've dragged this first skill here, I'm going to left click on it. By left clicking on the skill, I can then see my quick slot action bar for number 2. What that allows me to do is I can actually drag and drop skills into here and I have a huge queuing system of skills where I can just use this skill, and once I use it, it will give me the next skill on the list, thus a queuing system. Now, not all of these skills here will actually do extra damage with exposed weakness. I only want to do extra damage with skills that do expose weakness in this case. So I'm just going to add those 2 skills in here, and now I'm going to go ahead and press 2. Once I do that, we can see that it actually transformed into my Rapid Shot now. So now I can go ahead and click on Rapid Shot, and everything's on cooldown still. Opening this up, it's actually on cooldown, so if I wait another 3 seconds, it's actually going to revert back to my first skill because it's off cooldown. And that's a way we can maximize damage in our process of using the queuing system on the quick slot. It shortens your bar and doesn't cluster up how much you have to have on your bar to where you know, okay, this one does this damage and this one does this debuff, and I need to use this skill to do more damage because it's bleeding. So always make sure you read your skills, especially early game going forward, because it's going to enhance your damage output a lot, especially when you're running with a common or uncommon weapon until you get that rare gear. Now, one of the things you want to remember is that running the combo system or the queuing system is that you're running the risk of draining your mana. With that being said, if I mouse over to my first skill, it costs 44 mana for me to even do this one with an energy attack of 416. Okay, that's not much mana for my 5,000, but I'm not regenerating that much mana as it is. So that's a lot to gain an additional damage effect on my Rapid Shot, which is already doing 732 damage, but it also cost me 818 mana. So now my essential damage output is now higher than my mana consumption. My mana consumption is actually higher than my damage output. So with that being said, every time I cast a skill and start using it, I'm actually using too much mana up in the long run when I really want to control how much mana I'm using. So you have to be aware of using the queuing system while it's giving you the biggest damage output. You don't always want to sit there and spam it because you're actually going to lose out on your DPS because you're going to run out of mana. The moment you run out of mana, you're essentially useless. You're not doing DPS, you're not being able to tank, you're not being able to do something. In this case, that's one of the things you have to be worried about. The queuing system gives you the highest possible DPS, but hinders draining your MP faster than normal. We can use different builds in this case, and that's where this arrow comes into effect, where you can switch between different quick slot pages. PvP, you want to use the combo effect with quick slotting. This way you have the queuing system up. And maybe in the dungeons, you want to switch between a boss fight and normal AoE mob fighting. So you have different pages for different things where you would want these skills to be separated out because you don't want to always do that additional damage. You just want to use the skill as is, which is not a bad thing. Having that extra damage will give you the bonus, but you're draining mana, so you want to save mana. You reduce the additional damage that you would normally have. Next on the list is dodging. So a lot of people think it's a little bit when you press the AA or DD or SS to go between your movement, you can do this by double clicking any of those keys. Now a lot of people don't like to actually double click and they want to hotkey those the rolls. Now the rolls aren't essentially an iframe. You can still get hit from attacks that already attacked you if you're moving. But when you see a red circle or you see a mob coming at you, you can actually do an escape that can evade the damage. Which escape and evade are a little bit different. So you want to be able to dodge something without having the need to double click a key. You can hold right click, which will hold your camera in, and whatever direction you're moving in, you can just left click and you'll dodge in that direction. So if I'm holding A and going to my side, going left, going back, and I left click, I'll do the dodge in that direction. Now, one of the things that we have came across that is a downside is you don't have a cooldown reduction anywhere here. So you don't know actually how long you have until the next roll unless you're spamming the roll to see the cooldown. If you release right click, it disappears. So hold right click. Once you hold right click down, you can able to move forward, back, left, and just left click. That will let you roll or evade in the direction you are walking in. Finally, a couple small things to remember in Astellia Online starting off. One of the biggest things that people tend to do is sell all their gear that they gain because they want the extra gold to buy pots or to worry about something that really they don't need to be worrying about. So the first thing you want to do is dismantle everything. Dismantling everything in your equipment will essentially give you a thing called enhancement stones for that gear. So that means you have weapon enhancement stones, armor enhancement stones, and accessibility enhancement stones. By clicking the dismantle button in your inventory, you can go ahead and hover over those items that you don't want anymore, you don't need. Make sure, we'll get into this in just a second, make sure you don't have anything in the sockets for the ruins. I will go into that understanding of what that is in a second, but for now, in this case, this is empty. I don't need this armor. It's for a scholar. I go ahead and dismantle it. And at the bottom left here, you can see that I've obtained 370 armor stones. Now, the armor stones are actually very expensive, especially for endgame. The heroic and legendary gear requires a ton of stones to actually plus up. So with that being said, just take a look here with the enhancement option. The enhancement option is this little anvil here. And if I just right click on my item, we can see that to +1 my legendary bow, it's going to require 26,972 weapon enhancement stones. In this case, I'm dismantling low level gear. Higher level gear rewards more enhancement stones. A level 50 gear, level 45 gear will give you something around 1,000, 1,500, and so on and so forth. So you'll be able to upgrade your gear just by doing that. So I'm going to stop right there. The next thing I want to bring to your attention is side quests. A lot of people don't want to do side missions. They feel like it's useless. One of the biggest things about side missions, though, it gives you currency called ancient fragments. The ancient fragment currency is allowing you to obtain rare gear, legendary gear, and gear that you would need just to progress easier and faster without having to farm a dungeon for a rare piece that is honestly an RNG drop. So if you don't want to farm your dungeon, a level 15 dungeon, to get a rare piece to help you progress, you're going to see a person that's going to say the word ancient fragment shop over their head in different areas along the map. So if I look out here and I go into any of these areas that you'll be hunting, you can mouse over this in the map and you'll see that there's special merchants all throughout the area. Once you find those special merchants, you can go to them, talk to them, and you'll see what you can obtain with ancient fragments. The ancient fragments you can be used to buy rare gear for you at the beginning of the game, but also in the end game be able to help you buy legendary gear. So if I had 2,500 ancient fragments, I could actually buy my legendary earrings, rings, bracelets, and necklace. This might change in the actual release, but this is what it is currently as of right now. I recommend doing the legendary stuff because it gives you the benefit of having both legendary gear and hope that you get better stats for what you need. Farming 2,500 ancient fragments does take a little bit, but it is possible and it's definitely very useful to keep collecting those. That'll help you get your rare gear off the bat before you get into your level 15 dungeon. The level 15 dungeon you can do more or less with the common weapon that you obtained from the quest line. I recommend getting the uncommon weapon as soon as possible from the NPC. So each section is going to have a weapons merchant. The weapons merchant is going to allow you to obtain an uncommon weapon and armor set for pretty cheap, honestly. As long as you're doing some of the side missions, you'll be able to buy the uncommon gear pretty easily. Just do 1 or 2 side missions. It's not hard. This will give you the ability to buy the uncommon, which will help you progress through the game a ton faster and easier starting off. Lastly, I want to say is pay attention to your achievements. The achievement info is at the bottom right as well. That's going to give you achievement points. You get a whole bunch of different things from completing this. From supply boxes that you're going to need to equip to your gear, to your Astells, or just giving you the actual ancient fragments that you could obtain through adventures and life skills. And they also give you gold and other things such as that. So pay attention to your achievement info. Make sure you actually accept all your achievements and complete them as much as possible. Don't focus too heavily at the beginning, but make sure you're paying attention that, oh, I can get this or get that because I can turn them all in. So that's going to give you a lot of extra money and a lot of extra things that you're going to use. And there's some really good rewards that you can that can help you get started in Astellia. So I hope this video helped you get started in Astellia. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below. If you liked the video, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And like always, take it easy.